Learn yourself, master yourself, become your best self. Love.
All right, love and light. I am gonna get started with 11 days of yoga. Just wanted to take a minute to pin my podcast down there. And in the background, I'm gonna play Retrograde by James Blake. I absolutely love this song. It's so beautiful. But you know, a retrograde represents unlearning things, reflecting things, peeling back layers on things. So I also have my little handy dandy laptop right here as well, because we're gonna be going over some things. Today is gonna be super short. It's just gonna be the intro to 11 days of yoga. And then tomorrow we will actually get started. I also don't have my glasses on, so I'm gonna have the computer pretty close to my face. All right, so 11 days of yoga. I am currently participating or observing Ramadan right now, and there's 11 days left in Ramadan. And I wanted to do something to kind of stay connected a little bit here on the Instagram space. But also earlier last week, I did yoga with a friend who is a black belt in Taekwondo. And she told me that yoga is hard for her and it's really intimidating. And so we started talking about different ways to like teach yoga and things like that. But I thought this would be a cool thing to do to kind of honor the last 11 days of my Ramadan practice that I'm doing and show people that yoga really isn't that scary, y'all. So yes, 11 days of yoga. We're gonna do this every single day up until Saturday, May 23rd. That's the end of the day. That's the last day of Ramadan for me. We're gonna do it right here on Instagram. And I will be doing them live. I'm probably not gonna do them at the same time every day. It probably will be around this time because let's be honest, the lighting in my apartment is the best at this time of day. But I'll try to keep it around 5 o'clock, but it may be at some point in time. So that's why I said anytime that you want to do the yoga, you are more than welcome to. I will save the videos. I will put them up on IGTV. And of course you have them for a whole 24 hours on live itself. And then hopefully I can link it to like my Facebook and all that sort of stuff. Why am I doing this? Yes, I did say because a friend of mine said yoga was hard. But yoga is a beautiful segue into self-mastery. And I feel that there's been so much bad yoga taught that people are just really put off from it. People are put off from the art. And because people are being put off from this art form, people are being put off from self-mastery. That's something that I'm really passionate about right now, especially with all the chaos going on in the world. We're so caught up in what the media is telling us is going on, and it's really just shifting our center and shifting our focus. So hopefully by teaching this, we can just unlearn some bad yoga so we can come back to an art form that really is beautiful, that really is all about self-mastery. So every single day when we do these 11 days of yoga, first thing that we're gonna do is unlearn a bad thought around yoga. Like I said, my friend thought or thinks that it's really hard, it's really intimidating. A lot of people think that yoga has to be, like you have to be super flexible to even start yoga. It's about the sexy outfits and all that sort of stuff. Yoga is not about any of that stuff. And so every day that we start, I really want to break down a barrier or break down an old thought so we can learn some good yoga. And yes, we are going to introduce some new thoughts. If you've never done yoga before, I'm going to be talking about vinyasa flow, Bikram or hot yoga. We're going to talk about yin yoga, yoga for strength, elemental yoga or chakra yoga, and also comedic yoga. So we'll talk about these things, I'll demonstrate them, and then feel free to do them for yourself or just listen along. Like, we're all at home, you're on Instagram, you are not obligated to do this with me whatsoever. And this is especially good for those that haven't done yoga before, because you can kind of, it's like being a fly on the wall. Like, you can watch the class without feeling weird about not doing yoga with other people. And then the last thing is, after we do our yoga practice, I'm going to share one lesson from you from Lessons from the Mat. It's a podcast that I am dropping on May 23rd. You may have seen the podcast before. If you've been on my Instagram for a while, it was under the name Indie Nomad, which was my digital nomad lifestyle and traveling lifestyle, but now transitioning into Thai Ma'at, which is just me. They are lessons from the mat. So after we have our practice, I'll be sharing just a bit of the lesson. You can find the whole lesson in the actual podcast, each episode. Before class, I will upload them to the Anchor app platform. That link is in my bio. It's totally free. You just click it and you can hear the full episode. So a little bit of like a homework for you, or just like a little bit of a mental exercise after we do yoga here, then you can go onto the link and you can find all of the episodes there. So yoga, what is yoga? Oh my gosh, let's go ahead and unlearn bad yoga starting right now. Yoga, especially in the United States, has become the sexy, flexible, like, I'm sure you can throw stuff out right now. Like, when you think of yoga, what comes to mind? The first thing that comes to mind for me when I think of yoga is sports bras and leggings. And then the second thing would probably be really, really, really flexible people. That is not the basis of yoga. The definition of yoga itself, the Sanskrit word yoga, translates to yoke. And the closest understanding that we can have of that is of a union. Yoga is supposed to be the union of mind, body, and soul. Yoga is just a physical system to learn self-mastery. That's all it is. So even things like meditation, like a lot of people say, like, oh, I can't stop my mind, I can't meditate, that sort of thing. You can still find that same essence of meditation in other things. I talk to musicians who say they connect with something higher than themselves through music. You can say the same thing for artists and painters. You can say the same thing for inventors. Like, there's something about what the system of yoga brings that offers self-mastery. That is what yoga is about. I'm not going to name drop any fitness brands and companies because, hey, let's be honest, I'm going to be representing them one day. But it's not about the fitness brand. It's not about the sexy sports bras and the leggings and the poses and the smoothies and the plant-based lifestyle. It's not about that. It is about self-mastery. So through these 11 days, we're going to delve a little bit into that. And hopefully this promotes self-mastery just from these next 11 days. So the last thing I'm going to leave you with for today is a little bit of an excerpt from Lessons from the Mat. So last year when I first started Lessons from the Mat, I did a lot of them in blog form because I wanted to put them into a book, so to speak. And so today, if anyone follows numerology or anything like that, today's numbers, which is May 12th, 2020, adds up to the number 3. The number 3, actually, that's a lie. Is today the number 3? It's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, it does. It does add up to the number 3. And the number 3 coincides with expressing, whether it's vocalizing something, whether it's physical movement, whether it's starting a new venture. The number 3 coincides with expressing and release. So yoga is so much about that. It's so much about releasing the person you were, releasing the person you thought you were, to take on this new energy. And because I want these next 11 days to be an exploration, and I definitely want it to be playful, I'm going to read you the lesson from the mat that has to do with play. And no offense to FKJ, who I love, but you gonna be put on pause. So when you go to the link in my bio, like I said, the whole episode for Lessons from the Mat, Remember to Play, is already up there. I'm just gonna read a small excerpt from it now that will resonate with the day. Usually, for the sake of my morning ritual, I do one full Kemetic sun salutation to set my intention for the day, connect with my physical body, and bring vitality into my still sleeping body. But in doing the sequence 3 times, partially to remind myself that there is no rush, there is no next thing, that the false master of time is begging me to do, I was able to better look into my body, see where the kinks were, noticing the quality of my breath and vigor of each motion. Ultimately, I was able to play. Another beautiful insight from this lesson to play is that I have been 10 timesing my sun salutation all wrong. Side note, 10X Rule, 10 Times Rule is a book by Gordon Cardone, I think it is, and it basically talks about like leveling up, like whatever that one little thing is that you want to do, pretend like it's 10 times bigger and function at that level. So I was reading the book at the time that I wrote this. Another beautiful insight from this lesson to play is that I have been 10 times in my sun salutation all wrong. Instead of focusing on getting the sun salutation right and getting it done, the true value lies in making the sun salutation vast and wide. Think out instead of up, or being expansive instead of geometric progression rather than a vertical build. We'll talk about that later as far as we will go into one Kemetic sun salutation. The practice is very geometric, it's very symmetrical, but in learning to play, I just tried to kind of feel it out a little bit and get off the train tracks, as Adrian says from Yoga with Adrian. This lesson to play was the Kemetic yoga version of saying, life is short, but it's wide. So, from my yoga mat this morning, through me to you, remember to play. That was a little excerpt from Remember to Play off of Lessons from the Mat podcast. Like I said, the link is in my bio, and I would love for you to listen through that link. You can also find it on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and it's on like 4 other platforms. It's on Stitcher, and a couple other ones that I would have to go back to remember. But 11 days of yoga. Day 1 is already done. Yoga is not just about the body, it's also about the mind and the soul. So go listen to that podcast, and I will, oh, by the way, the link is down there in that pinned clip. That's what that is. And we'll see you tomorrow, maybe around 4:30, 5 o'clock for day 2 of Lessons from the Mat. And day 2 is going to be on breathing. And we're going to delve into Science of Breath by Yogi Ramacharaka. Love and light.
Learn yourself, master yourself, become your best self.